the work you do is obviously intrinsically linked to employee engagement because of the benefits that it creates. When you speak to different clients, and I suspect it's probably different based on the size of the client, how many times do you go into a business with the view that you're creating something because they haven't really got much in place, versus looking at what they've got in place and advising them how they could improve what's already existing? What surprises you in businesses in terms of both ends of that?
Yeah, so I suppose there's kind of a split. So there's definitely companies that I work with that are kind of don't have anything in place at all. So look at kind of building up from the foundations, and depending on how much money they've got and what the budget is, reviewing it from that point of view. But for me, the more interesting bit is going into companies that have potentially grown holistically. So they've got maybe really rich maternity leave because they had a senior woman go off on maternity leave, but no sick pay, and kind of looking at everything they've got. But the thing that really surprises me is often there's so much money that can be saved as part of doing like this benefits review exercise, because you see companies that will be like, okay, let's buy this medical insurance directly with the provider, and let's do this, and let's get this package and this package. And when you kind of go in and look at everything holistically, there's often double up of premiums. So they'll have like an employee assistance program through one benefit, and then they'll be paying for it on top of that. Like the medical insurance, if they're going directly with the provider, there's lots of money that can be saved through going with brokers. And I think if you go directly with providers, you just, spending so much more than you need to. And then once you've got all of that kind of holistic picture, there's also lots of benefits that are kind of hidden. So like I was saying, like the employee assistance program, there's lots of things like virtual GPs that you can get as part of your benefits. And this all then starts to create what was almost quite a small package before. Once you've got all of these additional freebies, and there's like lots of things as well that I can kind of add in as benefits that with providers that I work with that are either paid or free of charge, that can create a far more holistic package that is more interesting to kind of all of the workforce. Because I think sometimes benefits can be, if you go for the traditional ones, then life insurance, medical insurance, of course, are really important, especially at the moment with medical insurance. But I think, there's lots of other things like gym memberships, health cash plans that are more interesting to like a wider group of the population, and making sure that you're talking as part of the communications, talking to each different group, and making sure that there's not one group that's kind of overcovered and one group that's kind of ignored by the package as well.
Yeah, I love that. Just to pick up on a couple of things you said, you talked about the savings. I know the answer to this, but for the thousands that are going to be watching this, just to clarify, when you're talking about savings, that's saving the employer, the company, money, but potentially being able to give so much more to the employee versus saving and not giving.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely not necessarily you cutting benefits. And that's something that, especially because of the work that I do, I kind of see so often that you can make savings while actually increasing the benefit. So, for example, one company that I worked with had been going with the same medical insurance provider for years and had been renewing year on year on year. We then moved to a broker. They made some savings on what the premium would have been if they'd have gone directly. So I think it was maybe a 10-20% saving on the premium through going with the broker, and also got better terms on the medical insurance. So got higher limits on things and some additional benefits kind of thrown in because they were going through the broker. So the company's benefiting because they're saving money. They've got a much wider variety of benefits. And of course, through taxable benefits, the employee saving as well, because they're paying less tax on the benefit. And then there was more money to kind of in the pot to look at other opportunities and different things that they can do around well-being, around engagement. So to put that saving back into the benefits, or, at the moment, companies are having to save money. But anyway,
Okay, thank you for that. One of the things that I've been talking about for ages now with everyone that I speak to when discussing Mint 66 is just the workplace is just so different post-COVID. Yeah, it's unrecognisable in certain ways. And the reality is we are in our new normal now. We live in a world with a multi-generational workforce that's just getting wider and wider. People are wanting to, but also needing to work longer. So you've got people going into their 60s that are at one end of the scale, and you've got Gen Z at the other end of the scale. From your perspective, when you're looking holistically at the benefits packages that our businesses provide, and when you offer your advice, what could be a benefit to one age demographic versus another age demographic? I can imagine must be very different. How do you handle that?
Yeah, so there's some benefits that are kind of like across the board. So one of the best benefits that companies can introduce is holiday purchase. So letting employees buy more holiday. So that kind of works for younger generation who want to maybe take more time out to travel, to do things. Works for people kind of like parents that want to take time during school holidays, and people in their 60s that maybe either want to work less hours or have time with their children, their grandchildren. So that's a really interesting benefit that works across the board to can free people up. But then, yeah, you're right that there's other benefits. So you've got things like obviously gym memberships, which are more kind of geared to potentially the younger population, but they could be for older people as well. I think one interesting thing, so kind of looking at a pension point of view. So for me, it's really interesting that auto enrollment's obviously really amazing. That's kind of encouraging people to get into pensions. But what I have seen is a drop of actually employees engaging with pensions because everything's happening automatically, that they're not having such an active role in their pension, investing it and reviewing it and planning for retirement. So I think that companies need to have a lot more focus on education of pension right from the start. So I think there's obviously some pushback for companies that are offering just the minimum pension, that you don't want to be doing too much of a fanfare of like, oh, we've got this amazing benefit. We're just offering what we have to do by law. But I think there is a responsibility to companies to make sure that employees understand that this is still a really good benefit. This is still something that's really important for them, and it's theirs. It's not the company's. It's for their kind of future and helping them plan from a younger age what they want. So you kind of don't end up in your mid-40s, mid-50s and going, oh God, I've got to work longer now because I've got less options and there's less choice for me. And there's also, from a gender point of view, there's like this huge gender pension gap. So women are on average about £100,000 worse off coming up to retirement. So there's huge thing around that as well that companies need to talk to people about and educate people about.
Yeah, I think it's much needed. And you mentioned it earlier on in that conversation about the financial well-being. You just touched on the point around education. I've seen a couple of companies that bring external financial advisors in to speak to their team just to allow people a greater knowledge of what they can do and what they can't do. And I think companies that do that, they are showing that they're to their people that they care. And I think it's really important. I mean, bringing that back into engagement, I think all of us as humans, we want to feel valued. And ultimately, if we're seeing someone genuinely cares with authenticity and they're trying to do the best for us, it gives us a better feeling about the company, the individuals, your leader, and you'll tend to want to go and do more and go above and beyond versus someone that doesn't care. So you end up just going there for the paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's that level of commitment, isn't it? That if you feel it, and like you said before, it's about the authenticity as well. It's not just this tick box exercise that kind of, oh, we do care. It's like, really, you need to feel that. And I think often the benefits align with the values. The values then aren't just like something that's published on the website or stuck up on a wall. It's like, okay, this is a two-way street. It's not just we have to, as an employee, have to act by the values. It's like the values come back at us. You do care about us. This is like, there is innovation. There is all of these different things. So I think benefits is pretty important.
I love that. There'll be many, but that will definitely be one of the short clips I'll be editing from this, because the benefits and the culture piece are so intrinsically linked. I think that's so valuable. Outside of your world of benefits, because you work so closely within the realm of HR, because it's intrinsically linked. What other top tips have you got with regards to employee engagement and allowing companies to understand how much value they would get when their staff generally are fully engaged in what they're doing?
I think it kind of goes back again to the authenticity and the two-way conversations. And I think that's why Minute are so important in terms of allowing employees to have that way to discuss what's important to them and open up the conversations. And I know like you've got like the amazing tools where people can give feedback on specific points that can be given back in. So I think everything within HR, it's quite easy to kind of think, oh, this is what employees think. like we're saying about the salaries, employees just want more money, employees just want this, and you can quite easily ignore what employees actually want and what's important to them, and that's why your tools are so important as well, because you kind of get the overall top level of like, yep, they do want more money, but what's the detail under that? What is it actually they want more money, or are there things that are more important than the money side of things? So I think it's having those two-way conversations. And I think for me, the most interesting is like actually having the tools and having one-to-one conversations as well, just to kind of speak to a group and so never assume that this is what employees want. And I think, again, that kind of goes back to the values and goes back to trust of if employees can see that you're having the conversations and then there's action taken as part of that, that then builds far more
100%.
trust, which builds innovation, which, it just can't be underestimated how much impact that has, can it?
I couldn't agree more. People want to feel heard
Yeah.
because it makes them feel valued, and then they want to see action.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if you agree, if companies get feedback that people want X, Y, Z, but they can't do it, it's just not possible for them to be able to do it, I think many people will accept that if there's communication around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think opening up that line of communication as well, to be like, you want an extra 2% in your pension, but that means we can't give you salary increases, and treat people like adults, have the conversation like you're talking to adults, because you are talking to adults, like, and then
100%.
people can see and they can understand, this is where we are. We have to have difficult choices. And then you feel part of the organization, you feel part of the decision-making process. You might not be part of the decision-making, but you feel like you've got an in on that, rather than just this is happening to you. You're not getting the things you want. So definitely having those two-way conversations and really as honest. Obviously, there's things that businesses can't share, but yeah, I think be very clear about, okay, we've looked into this, we've taken this advice, this is the situation. Like you just see the employees' reactions just changes completely once they feel part of that, because then they feel part of the company, and so they're engaged with it. Like it's so simple, isn't it?
And ultimately, if companies listen, they act, they communicate, they're going to have a more engaged workforce, and that more engaged workforce is going to do better work. It's going to offer better customer service. It's going to be more productive, and everyone wins.
Yeah, exactly. It's
simple as that. Well, that seems like a really good point to end the podcast. I'm so grateful that you were willing to come on and chat with me. I think we are absolutely aligned in terms of our desires to benefit businesses, and I would highly recommend anyone watching this to reach out to you if they are looking at their benefits, because I think you'd add so much value. Really appreciate your time.
thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's been really great to have a geek out about the engagement benefits.